Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock, so I will call this meeting to order. And let me mute everyone. And ask you to join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is, the approval of the minutes. You're going to have to unmute yourselves. I don't have an unmute all button. The minutes of our February 8th meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Hearing none, could I have a motion that they be approved as written?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Raymond. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Cormos. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Those minutes are approved. Next order of business is mayor announcements. I wanted to remind everyone of the schedule for the Public Safety Committee and the policing reform plan that we are required to approve before April 1st. The Public Safety Commission or Committee has been meeting regularly and doing a very conscientious job of reviewing our police services. They're currently working on their report to the board, which is, I gather, equivalent to a policing reform plan. We expect to get it on March 12th. The executive order from the governor requires all municipalities in New York State to adopt a policing reform plan by April 1st and authorizes the director of the Division of the Budget to condition state aid on this adoption. So I'm taking that deadline seriously. We have to make this committee report / policing reform plan available to the public and allow public comment before we adopt it. So if we get it on March 12th, the draft should be posted online by the 15th, which is a Monday. And I will plan to set the public comment session for our March 23rd meeting. So the board should get this by the 15th and have a week to look at it. Unless there is public comment that causes us to feel that we need to review the plan, then we can adopt it also on March 23rd and get it to the state before April 1st. And that's it for announcements tonight. Moving on to old business. I'm not aware of any old business to come before the board tonight. So we'll move on to new business. Could I have a motion that the budget transfers be approved?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Shaw. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by trustee Fitzpatrick. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. That motion carries. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda tonight?
I'll make
So
that.
moved.
Motion by trustee Cormos, second by trustee Raymond. Any discussion?
Can I just ask what door that is? Exterior door, front, back?
It is the door at not when you go into the room where the community room, it's the door to the entrance to the elevator.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's the door that's the one that's in the worst shape.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Now that motion carries. I'm multitasking here. If you'll forgive me, I'm trying to catch up on who has joined our meeting since I last made the list. Okay. Wow, that must be our council making that buzzing sound.
What, bud?
Now it's gone. Next item of business is trustee liaison reports. Are there any reports from any of the trustees tonight? Trustee Cormos.
Just a brief one, for the linkage grant, the bicycle and pedestrian master plan and linkage grant, we had the first study advisory committee meeting. That is essentially like the steering committee was for the economic development plan. It's a group of representatives from Ballston Spa, as well as representatives from the major transportation agencies and the county. And so we had the first basically organizational meeting. The consultants, VHB and Planning for Places, described the scope of work and the steps and the schedule. And, one of the things to note is that there will be a separate website for this project, and there will be, public feedback from surveys, etc. So, look forward to that. And that's about it.
Thank you. Any other liaison reports tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to other business. I believe we do have one item of other business tonight, and that is an income survey. As background for those of you who may not have followed this, several grant programs have restrictions involving low-income households. The village as a whole does not qualify because our mean income is too high, but we think some neighborhoods might. And if we can document that, then we could apply for aid for infrastructure projects in those specific neighborhoods under these limited programs. We had a presentation a few meetings ago from G&G Municipal Consulting, and they gave us a proposal to do such a study for a total not to exceed $16,825. Not want to move forward with only one proposal, so we solicited another proposal from the Chazen companies, and they gave us an estimated cost of $20,000. That came in after the agenda was put out, is the reason it's not on the agenda tonight. But Trustee Cormos tells me we need to act quickly in order to have the results of the survey by this summer's grant season. So I wanted to ask the board if they're comfortable moving forward with this tonight, even though it wasn't on the agenda. Any objections?
No.
All right. Then, any discussion?
Can I ask a question? This maybe is for Liz, because I'm betting she's read these things more closely than the rest of us. Maybe you, Larry. Is there any material difference in the deliverables or services that are being offered? I know that they're generally the same in terms of the focus, but I just want to make sure that when we're comparing prices, we're comparing apples to apples as opposed to, oranges.
It is apples to apples, and Liz was very helpful in making sure that was the case. I would say that the biggest difference, in my opinion, is that G&G stressed the door-to-door canvassing and censusing as a part of their original proposal, and they said it was essential to getting decent and acceptable results, and they built it into their price. The Chazen companies did not include that in their original proposal, and when asked to go back and add it, they did not give us a total not to exceed as G&G did, but instead they said that their best guess was 20,000, and that the door-to-door, if it turned out to be extensive, might result in additional costs. So I think that's, in my mind, the biggest difference. Trustee Cormans, did you have anything to add?
No, I thought in G&Gs, they actually stated they would do up to 5 rounds of door-to-door to get to the level of participation we needed. So that was, definitely more extensive than, and I think Chazen does 2 mail surveys, and then is quoting 1 door-to-door, whereas G&G does 1 mail survey and then follows up with up to 5 rounds of door-to-door.
And can you maybe, just for the benefit of the minutes, frankly, remind us of what the relative experience of these 2 entities is? G&G, I mean, most people probably have no idea what G&G is, but it's worth describing their experience in the space.
Yeah, they're a specialty group that does this extensively, whereas the Chazen companies are a general engineering outfit. And I believe their proposal specified that they would bring in an outside consultant to help with this project.
So their proposal probably has some overhead in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to me the choice is pretty clear if we're comfortable with G&G's expertise and the product that they'll deliver.
I think we were all favorably impressed with their presentation and their experience and expertise.
I was. I just have one thing. The Chazen proposal, are we reading the proposal from February 16th, 2021?
Yes.
February 18th.
18th. Okay. All right. Because I have a different, okay, then I understand. Okay. Thank you. I was very favorably impressed with G&G. It looked like it's what they focused on. It's, as Larry said, and as others have said, it's their, specialty. So I had a lot of confidence in what they were talking about.
All right. Could I have a motion to accept the proposal to conduct an income survey from G&G?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Trustee Fitzpatrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Shaw. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are we getting an
All
echo?
opposed, nay.
Yeah, we are. Well, not now.
That motion carries. And that's the only item of other business. So we will move on to public comment. And I got to pull up the roster here. And if any attendee wishes to address the board, please use the raise hand function and I will unmute you. And I have to be scrolling continuously through the list because I can only see a small number of names at one time. All right, I see a hand from Frank Rossi. I'll remind everyone, please, to give us your name and address at the beginning of your comments. I'll recognize Mr. Rossi.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Mayor.
unmuted, but okay.
Frank Rossi Jr., 63 Saratoga Ave, Apartment B, Ballston Spa, New York, 12020. Just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, I am speaking on behalf of some of the candidates in the election. There's 2 concerns I want to raise. First, there's confusion in light of some of the back and forth and some of the articles that were from past days in the newspaper, et cetera, with respect to the ballot and what's going to be appearing on the ballot with respect to this election. Specifically, in doing some diligence, when I got these questions myself as to what would it be appearing, it appeared that the intention of the parties being the actual political parties that made the agreement with the village for a nonpartisan election, was that it would be individuals' names appearing with a normal random draw, and just the names of the candidates would appear when this ballot is in the village's control. There's concern that there's a presumption here, and I think this was furthered by Trustee Cormos' own comment today on a Facebook post, that basically what is turned into an alter ego, the Democratic Party in the village of Ballston Spa, a Better Be Spa, is going to have its name appear on the ballot next to the candidates that are running alongside that group, whatever you want to call it at this point. In doing some deeper diving, despite the idea that the parties were not supposed to be participating here, it appears that the Democrats of the town of Milton, the day after an article appeared in the Times-Union about the nonpartisan nature of this election, on December 31st was the article. On January 1st, according to financial disclosures, the town of Milton Democrats gave $500 to the candidates running with the Better Be Spa. I just want to underscore here that from what I can tell, it appears the intent of the parties in the village was to not have any party identifying information, be it an official national party or a localized party or group, next to anybody's name. It was supposed to be every man or woman for themselves on the ballot. And we would hope that that ballot would reflect that idea. The second
Okay, can I
concern,
that one
sure,
before you one,
Sure.
one? That was certainly my hope and my intention when I started this process of discussion with the political parties. However, it turns out that New York state election law requires candidates on their nominating petitions to identify the body that is nominating them. And that has to also occur on the ballot. So candidates essentially are in a position of making up an organization to put in that blank on the ballot, on the nominating petition, and the name of that organization then appears on the ballot as well. That's not a local choice, it's a state law, and we're required to follow it. I was sorry to learn that, because I didn't know that was the case beforehand, but that is true. In terms of yes, there will be affiliations next to each candidate's name per state law. As far as the parties go, there's nothing that a village can do to prevent political parties from participating in elections. It has to be voluntary. And I did, as you know, approach the local Republican Party and the local Democratic Party and get their agreement not to hold caucuses and not to nominate candidates. That's a voluntary agreement on their part. I did not approach a Better Be Spa with that same request because it never crossed my mind. Okay, so that's your first question.
Yes, and I just want and I know we don't do back and forth here, but just to be clear on something, I think, unfortunately, this starts going down a rabbit hole that nobody wants, because what's to stop somebody from creating the Grand Ole Be Spas or something like that to identify as an alter ego of the Republican Party, but not really the Republicans nationally, and to do the same thing and to create the same situation. It just becomes a scenario whereby the spirit and really the letter in some logic here of the law or the agreement or whatever you want to call it is not going to be followed. This has to be really thought through, I think, more. And I'm not faulting you, Mr. Mayor, on this. I understand exactly what you're saying. But seeing how this is all playing out in some of the comments today, this was pretty discomforting for people that I am representing. Number two, because of the level of affiliation and backing of candidates and an actual running of a candidate, I have to suggest to the village at this point that Trustee Cormos, Trustee Fitzpatrick, through her contributions to a Better Be Spa from financial disclosures, and candidate and Trustee Raymond should not be able to, because of conflicts of interest, have any weighing in on any election issue that comes forward between now and election day, including possibly certification of the election. I think there's sufficient time for the village to consider an alternate mechanism to handle such situations, because I understand that would nullify 3 trustees out of 5 voters. But there are ways to create alternate mechanisms here. And I would really ask the village to consider that, because we don't want a conflict of interest scenario present especially in an election situation. And some folks have really gone beyond what I would call the decorum of normal election scenarios with their support of candidates, et cetera. Sean Raymond, I understand he's running, and I get that, and that's his prerogative, and he's running for re-election. That's that. Okay. But other people on this board should have probably done a better job of understanding a certain level of decorum and duty here, and they didn't. And it's going to create issues if, God forbid, there is an issue that this board has to render a decision on with respect to this election down the line. I do want to call that to your attention, as I said, representing others with respect to this, and I appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Rossi. In response to your second item, I will ask our attorney to please consider possible future issues that we might encounter and be prepared to help us deal with them if they should arise. I see another hand. Ben Baskin. All right. I unmuted you. You have to unmute yourself as
Hi,
well.
can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thanks. I'm Ben Baskin. I'm running for office village trustee under Better Be Spa, which is
Address, please.
in 60 Ballston Avenue, Ballston Spa 12020.
Thank you.
Sorry. So I'm running for office for village trustee under the or with the Better Ballston Spa, which is an independent political body or independent body. It's not even a political party, but I just want to say that there's nothing, number one, there's nothing wrong with people coming together in groups and organizations to get things done. That's how things have always gotten done throughout time. So there's nothing wrong with organizing. One thing this brief experiment in nonpartisanship has already shown is that political organizations don't make people nasty. People make people nasty. And if you have nasty individuals involved in the election will get nasty, whether it's nonpartisan or not. Our opponents tried unsuccessfully to eliminate Sean and myself from this election by filing a completely frivolous objection to our petition signatures. Within a day, it was dismissed by the County Board of Elections. Clearly, our opponents would rather do an end run around the election than actually give voters a choice at the polls. Lastly, I just want to say that if someone tells you they are completely unaffiliated free agent who comes out of nowhere, they are lying to you. It's not a coincidence that the opposition chose Mr. Rossi as their lawyer to file the objection to eliminate us from the election, and that he is also a longtime Republican operative. It's not a coincidence that over 30 of their signatures, required signatures, came from Mohican Hills, owned by the Rossis, while people from a Better Be Spa are charged with trespassing on that same property. It's not a coincidence that I'm a member of Smart Growth Ballston, or that one of the candidates is the wife of the police chief, or that 2 others are firefighters. Organizations are not the problem. Low-minded tactics and the individuals who choose them are the problem. If you want the village to keep moving forward and not backwards, vote for Ben Baskin and Sean Raymond on March 16th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Baskin. I will recognize a person who is listed as Ellie, who I assume has the last name of Dillon.
Can you
Okay.
hear me? Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me?
can.
Okay. Ellie Dillon, 116 Malta Avenue, Ballston Spa. And I just want to address Mr. Rossi's comment about Milton Democratic Committee donating to a Better Be Spa. Simply stated, Milton Democratic Committee has always supported elections, and simply the two candidates asked. No other candidates came forward to the Democratic Committee and said, can you support our campaign? If anyone else had, we would have considered it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dillon. Now we've got a slew of hands. I hope our next, I hope our next 3 meetings don't turn into just political election stuff. The next hand I see is Anna, whose last name I am assuming is Stanko, and you're allowed to talk now.
Can you hear
Anna,
me?
you've done- Yes.
Okay, Anna Stanko, 32 Kent Street, Ballston Spa. First, yeah, I agree with you, Mayor Walbright. This is not the place for political discussions, not at a village board meeting. But be that it is as it is, number one, Mr. Baskin should not be advertising vote Raymond and Baskin. I mean, have a little self-respect. I was involved in this initial conversation. And yes, the intent of the initial conversation, which went back to January of 2020, was that the elections would be nonpartisan. Now, for me, nonpartisan means big parties, no party endorses. So there's an old saying, if it looks like crap and it smells like crap, don't step in it. And when the Democratic Party donates to this A Better Be Spa, that's exactly what it looks like. So, you know, as I'm not involved in this election, I'm holding up my end of the bargain to stay out of the local politics and let the candidates do what they want to do for themselves. But apparently that isn't how it's being handled on the other side. So I'm a little disappointed, Larry, because it took some time for you to convince me that this was the way to go. And I agreed. And now look what's happening. I mean, there's posts on Facebook about, yeah, it's just nonsense. And it's pretty unethical for a village trustee to be posting that kind of stuff anyway. They should be staying out of that stuff. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stanko. Next hand is Bob Bush. Good.
Hi, my name is Bob Bush. Can you hear me?
Yes.
71 Church Ave. I'm commenting back on the comment of Ben Baskin. I'm the one that filed the protest. And the reason I filed the protest had nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with anything but the integrity of this election. But it's really obvious if you look at the 2 signatures, they are not the same, not even close to being the same. Therefore, I took it upon myself, nobody else, to file this protest. It was not to knock anybody out. It was to bring attention to the Board of Elections that these signatures don't match, and for them to look into it, to find and post what their findings are, whether they want to move forward or whatever it is they want to do. And by the way, it didn't take 1 day, it took 4 days, and I still have not got the notification of what the results are. So I don't know where he's getting his information from, but until I get that notification, I really don't know what the results are. I haven't gotten anything official yet. And it bothers me that the newspapers get this information before I do. I'm an independent, running as an independent, nonpartisan, not even a party candidate. And my idea of nonpartisan is no affiliation with any party at all, not taking any kind of contributions from any party, taking contributions from individuals. Because as Ann said, once you associate, or I forgot who said, to be honest with you, once you associate yourself with that, you're looking like you're taking a you're looking at taking sides. And this election is not about taking sides. It's about individuals and who can do the best job for the village. And who the people think can do the best job for the village. Take the Democrats, take the Republicans, take the independents, conservatives, everyone out of this. That's what nonpartisan is. Not this stuff that we're doing here with the donation from the Democratic Party from Milton or any of that. And I will let everyone know, I'm not taking any donations from any party. I'm strictly nonpartisan, as agreed upon between the mayor and the two parties. I'm not going to advertise a vote for me because this is not the time or place to do so. End of my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Any other public comment tonight? I don't currently see any other hands raised. All right, seeing no additional hands, I will close the public comment session.
Some more. Mayor, there are more.
Okay, indeed there are. I will unmute Mandy Ryder. You are unmuted from, there you go.
Okay, Larry, not to prolong this, but I just have a quick question, which,
Please,
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
your address,
Yes.
please.
I'm sorry, 9 Heritage Place, Ballston Spa.
Thank you.
And Larry, you might have already mentioned this, but several friends have asked me if I were going to be zooming in on the meeting tonight. And if this came up about the election, if you could, if I could present this. I think you already answered it, but just in 10 words or less, what they wanted me to ask is, I thought the individuals running for trustees were running independently. This is not my question, this is theirs. So why are the Democrats supporting two candidates running under Better Be Spa with obvious support if everyone is supposed to be running independently? You addressed that before and you said it perfectly. Could you just tell me, like in 15 words or less, what I could say to them as far as they had to have some kind of support to be on the ballot?
Neither of the Democrats nor the Republicans held a caucus or nominated any candidates.
Okay.
And those are the things that I come to agree not to do. So that was the extent of it.
Okay.
And Mandy, the question of like who gives money to whom has nothing to do with the village board.
Yeah, no, they never asked me that, but I think they were looking, I don't know what, I'm not really on Facebook, but they were looking at certain things on Facebook, and I said, well, why don't you zoom in and ask yourself? No, would you ask, the mayor, whatever. So bottom line is, okay, so Republicans and Democrats, they're not supporting people, and you answered the question perfectly. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Ryder.
I will pass that on.
And I got to search for who the other hand is because okay. Tammy Keller, you're allowed to talk, but you're still muted from your end.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Tammy Keller, are you there? I'm showing it unmuted from both ends, but I'm not hearing anything. Last call, Tammy Keller. Okay, I don't know. Any other public comment? All right, seeing no other hands, I will close the public comment period again. And we do have occasion tonight to need to go into executive session to discuss a specific personnel matter. I have to end this meeting to open the executive session. If you want to stay for adjournment and watch the end of this meeting, I suggest that you try logging back into this same meeting in about 20 minutes or so. I will start this meeting when we get out of executive session, and we will adjourn the meeting from this meeting site. So if you want to be here to see the adjournment after our executive session, just try signing back into this same meeting in about 15 or 20 minutes. And what should happen, I've never actually tried this before, but what should happen is you should get a message that the host has not started the meeting yet, and you'll be admitted when the meeting starts. And then when I start the meeting again after the exec, you should be automatically admitted and you should be in the meeting. Okay. So we will come back whenever we get done with our discussion of a specific personnel matter in order to adjourn the meeting. And at this time, could I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss a specific personnel matter?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by trustee Fitzpatrick. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Shaw. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned to executive session. I will restart this meeting when we conclude executive session. And I'll see the board in our executive session meeting in about 5 minutes. Quick
Larry,
pit
do I
stop.
need to come? Larry, do I need to come back? Okay, thank you.